Okay, so assuming you already have VirtualBox open, we're going to start off by creating a new virtual machine if you don't already have one. So you're just going to click this blue button right here. There's lots of videos online of how to create a virtual machine as well. So if this doesn't click with you, I would just suggest going through YouTube. There's plenty of examples of this. I'm just going to call mine CS230. I don't care what you call yours. You're not being graded on that. Don't worry about it. So anyway, we're going to be using Ubuntu, specifically the 64-bit version. And then this is the RAM when it's talking about memory size. So if you're on a Mac, it's most likely 8 gigabytes, unless you're a little bit wealthier. Then maybe you have 16. If you're on a gaming laptop, you probably have about 16 gigs to give up. You want to do this in even increments of gigabytes. That's in the binary representation. So 1024 is like one single gig. You want to give it somewhere on the order of like 4 or so to make your life a little bit easier if you can. I have a relatively beefy machine, which I will not so humbly brag with right here by going into the system information. And you can see how much RAM I have available. This is on a Windows machine. I have links under the lab res section of the eCampus page for lab 1. So you can see on a Mac how much memory you have and so forth. It's the available physical memory that's important. So I'm going to use 8 of the 36 that I had available. We're going to go and create. All of this stuff is fine. We want it to be dynamically allocated so that it doesn't just block off 100 or however many gigabytes we're going to be using. I'm going to give this 60 gigabytes. I have that kind of space available. It's going to be not going... You can change the location where you store all this stuff. I don't want it to be under C. I want it to be under my... VMs right here. I'm going to create a new folder, and this is just going to be CS230. And I'm going to save it right there. It's only because your C drive, if you're on Windows, is very, very cluttered with all kinds of other applications that install to the default location. So, but you may have a secondary hard drive, whether it's SSD or a hard drive itself. It doesn't really matter in this story. And that has a lot more space available, so you can use that instead. And it'll add this path to the virtual machine location here, so it doesn't really matter when you change that. You're going to go ahead and create, and then you're going to modify some stuff in the settings just to give yourself a little bit of space. We are going to go with at least 2 processors. I'm going to go with 4 because I can. And for the display, I'm going to give it all 128 megabytes. You should do that regardless of whether you're on a laptop or a beefy machine. Doesn't really matter. And then, let's see, that's fine. Everything else is fine. The one other thing that's in the advanced section right here, I'm going to allow bi-directional flow between my clipboard and my drag and drop because I may have things from my screen or from my host machine that I want to just drag and drop over because it's more convenient for me. This does present a security issue because your VM isn't isolated or anything like that. Anyway, but for the purposes of this lab, it should be fine. You shouldn't be doing anything too nefarious or anything, whatever. So anyway, you'll notice that it's kind of empty at the moment, though. I don't have any ISO file associated with it. I don't have anything when I start it up. So when I hit start, It's going to ask me. Okay, well, for some reason it's still going over here. All right, so it'll ask you, it'll come up with a prompt. Let's see. Okay, cool. It'll ask you for a prompt. You can also specify it in the settings under storage. You can specify which one you want by going right in here. You can choose a file. You can add one right there. And you can find the ISO file that you should have downloaded at this point. I think in like the first video I started downloading it. And it's going to be this Ubuntu ISO. I have it downloaded twice actually because I showed you guys. Okay. So you're going to select that one. You're going to select the Ubuntu 18.04.5. Anyway, and then after you go through that, after you've loaded it on there, I'm just going to maximize this screen because that's what we're going to be using. We're going to be using the full screen after we get this initial install going. You're just going to go through this process of going install and basically just clicking yes to a whole bunch of stuff. And anyway, because this is my development environment, I'm going to be using an insecure password. That's bad practice in production. Don't do that. Do as I say, not as I do. It's really just because it's convenient for me as I'm demoing this stuff for you guys. You're going to install third-party graphic stuff and all kinds of other useful tools so you don't end up breaking something during the install process. Yeah, it's fine. You're not erasing anything on your native machine, on your host machine. It's just the install process for your virtual machine here. It's called a guest machine, and you don't actually have to select all the same stuff in here. Like if you want to use some other time format, the only thing I ask is that you keep everything in English because I don't speak other languages, and if you have to translate everything for me, it's going to make debugging stuff harder for you and me. The name, it doesn't actually matter, so I'm just going to call it test. The password is going to be the same as the name here. Again, this is an insecure password. It's just for my convenience because we're going to be doing a lot of sudo action and we're going to be getting a lot of stuff going after it gets through the install process. I am going to pause and I will just kind of resume as this stuff is finishes at each stage.